Welcome to episode 6 of CalPCA's Fiduciary Forum, also known as the 2 o'clock talk or our Wednesday webcast. So this is a 30-minute informal yet informative open chat session on a different topic every first and third Wednesdays of the month. So go ahead and you can start marking your calendars now for the first and third Wednesdays of the month. If you don't already know, that's when we offer this forum. And also, you can go to your Blackboard profile page and sign up for future sessions. That way you can get reminders if in case you don't put them on your actual calendar. So my name is Molinda and I'm a CalPCA instructor, and today I am joined by my fellow instructors, Richard Brown, and our host of this session, Lori Hughes. But before we jump into today's topic, which is classification type, IT goods and IT services, I have just a couple of things that I need to remind you of. So one, each fiduciary forum is recorded and placed on our CalPCA YouTube channel. If not, by the end of the day, the next day, so today or tomorrow, it will be played, preferably the next day. That's usually when it's been happening, the next morning. It'll be readily available on our YouTube channel for future reference. So if you happen to have missed episodes 1 through 5, feel free to go to our CalPCA YouTube channel and watch those episodes. We've already had episodes on navigating the Blackboard and your profile information. We've had an episode on commercially useful function. We've had an episode on classifying non-IT goods and an episode on non-IT services. So we've had, plenty of information already thus far. So please take the opportunity, if you haven't watched or joined all of our episodes up to this point, go to YouTube and check them out. And since these sessions are informal, there's no certification for attending, so you don't get any certificates for it. There's no PowerPoint presentation or student resource packet to download, to take notes. It's very informal. Also, I must tell you about the disclaimer of verbal is not binding. Now, that's something you actually should already know in doing contracts in the state of California. Verbal is not binding in the state when it comes to contracts, nor are fiduciary forums. So with that being said, I must always urge you to seek out sources for your documentation purposes, right? Whether it's for processing or whether it's for evaluation or post-award evaluation. Whatever information you get from us, please just know our information does reside in the state contracting manuals, as well as we will reference like government codes and sometimes regulations. So we try to give you as many resources as possible to go back and do your legwork to get the actual piece of documentation that you'll need if you're in a scenario that we are talking about during this fiduciary forums. So with that being said, I need you to go ahead and just sit back and relax, right? So this is very informal. We have the option to chat, so please use the chat feature. You also, in some of our forums, we may actually open the mic, so listen for that prompt. The host will tell you if you're going to open a mic. We want the back and forth chat option, so we want to make sure that you are giving us examples or giving us scenarios or any questions you may have, because what we all know is we never really have an opportunity to always sit down with someone to hash out a scenario or a question or just get something off your mind. So please feel free to do that. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hand it over to Lori. Lori is your host for the day for classifying IT goods and IT services. Go ahead, Lori. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lori Hughes, and I'm with CalPCA. Thank you, Molinda, and thank you, Rich, for being here. As Molinda said, it's very informal. A little bit about what I'm going to talk about. I only show myself on the video for so long because, honestly, who wants to see me for that long? I have, what is it called, the face for radio. Not a professional actor, but just wanted to say hi to everybody with the sound. Okay, so Molinda says she has no sound. If you can hear me, let's go ahead and do our first activity. If you can hear me, raise your hand. All righty. All right, because we're going to be doing a lot of hand raising and a lot of hand lowering today. So go ahead and put your hands down by clicking on that again real quick. And I'll give you 3, 2, 1 to go ahead and close that out. And I'm going to close my mic or my video, and we'll go ahead and get started. So see you in a bit. All right. So before we get started, just kind of real quickly, if you weren't able to attend the classification courses for non-IT services and non-IT goods, in those courses, we talked about the importance of selecting the correct classification, that it will help you to define, are you within the correct purchasing authority? Are you including the correct legal documents? So are you including, either the terms and conditions or the general provisions or the cloud provisions or the IT provisions? It will also make sure that you end up in the end with the legal contract. So today's forum, we're going to be talking about IT goods and IT services. So I'm going to start really quick with some definitions. I'm going to go through some examples. So this is where we're going to be doing a lot of either hands up or hands down or using the room chat. And then we're going to open up the forum for discussion. So I'm going to kind of quickly go through some definitions and then some examples, but then we want to open it up to you to see what kinds of questions that you might have. As Molinda says, kind of keep it informal. So just as a reminder, if you went to some of the previous forums about goods are tangibles, right? You can touch it, you can feel it, you own it. So in the example of IT goods, we're talking about tangible items, commodities, appliances, or tools with either some sort of IT functionality or connects to IT. So think has a connection to Wi-Fi or somehow interacts with the computer or with the internet. That would be an IT good. And if you go out to the SAM, right, that's the State Administrative Manual 4819.2. So I'll ask one of my fellow instructors to document that. Or SEM Volume 2, Chapter 10, Section 1001. It already provides a whole list of items that are already defined for you as IT goods. And as you can imagine, for IT goods, those items are pretty obvious. So if you're looking at a good, right, a tangible, a CPU, a modem, the LAN, magnetic tape units, terminals that connect to a computer, personal digital assistants, and software are all considered IT goods, right? So those are goods. IT because they either connect via Wi-Fi or they connect somehow to a Wi-Fi or internet enabled piece of equipment somehow. And the SAM and the SEM Volume 2, Chapter 10, Section 1001, there's a whole list there for you. So if you just go there, look at the list, you go, boop, there we go. I'm buying a CPU. It's already defined for you as an IT good. All right. Now, when we look at some examples, so I'm going to give some examples really quick. If you go to buy a book, you go to a bookstore, you buy a book, just real quickly in the room chat, you buy a book at the bookstore. What is it? Is it a good? Is it a service? Is it IT or not? What do you think? Right. It's a non-IT good. You go to the store, you pick it up. It's not somehow loading up to the internet or anything. But you take that same book and you download it on the internet or you get access to it via the internet, it becomes what? Using room chat. Becomes an IT good. And when I was working with the purchasing authority unit, they kept talking about risk, right? Because of the risk. And I didn't get what they were saying. And remember, if you are buying IT, whether it be a good or service, there are general provisions that go along with that. IT general provisions. And in those IT general provisions, it talks about risk, right? Because if you're going to be accessing something via the internet, or using a product that accesses the internet in some way, then the risk is that, think about it, I'm on my phone right now, I go on my phone, I might get a bug. I might somehow get into an internet site where I'm going to have some issues. So if you look at the IT general provisions, it talks about that. And so whenever you're looking at a good or a service, kind of think, is there going to be some risk where that somehow we're connecting to the internet, we're connecting to a good that connects to the internet that introduces risk? And therefore, we need to make sure that we're attaching the correct IT general provisions. Now, if it's cloud, we need to make sure that we're linking to the cloud general provisions. If you haven't taken a look at those, put that as a to-do list item that you need to know that. If it's non-IT, you're using either the terms and conditions if you're talking about services, or you're using the non-IT general provisions, because you don't have that risk of IT, of somehow getting a bug, or somehow, with everything that's going on in the world today, can you imagine that same book you buy at Barnes and Noble, no problem, you're not worried about getting some kind of a virus. Take that same book, download it via the internet, you've now introduced risk. Therefore, you need to make sure as part of that you are referencing the IT general provisions. If it's via the cloud general provisions. That's why it's so important that you classify correctly. Legally, the attachments, the references, the language you use, as well as when you look at the approvals you might need, or the purchasing authority, where it falls within that purchasing authority. Okay, so let's do some examples. My boss went out and bought a water heater, right? You buy a water heater, what is it? It heats water. What is it? Using room chat. I go out to buy a water heater. What is it? Is it an IT good? Yeah, it's a good, right? Because it's a tangible. It's a non-IT good. But what if I told you that water heater comes with the USB? Then what is it? Okay, so you're saying IT. The answer is kind of, it depends. I went out, and I guess a lot of water heaters now come with a USB drive. So what the PAU, or the purchasing authority unit, looks to when they do an audit is they say, okay, how did they classify it? Why did they classify it that way? If they go and look at the requirements on the scope of work or on the specifications, and it says it must have connectivity to the internet via USB, that makes that water heater that was a non-IT good now an IT good. And then they're going to look at it and go, did it fall within the purchasing authority? Did you attach the correct general provisions for IT? Did you get the correct approvals? So it gets really tricky now when we're talking about goods, because now almost everything attaches to IT. Now, if you have no intention of using the IT capability or ever connecting to the internet or the Wi-Fi in any way, then you can document that, even though this comes with internet capability, you will never use it. But if you're not 100% sure, it kind of becomes a gray area. That water heater, my boss will never do that. He's not going to be connecting to the internet. But you have to look at what's the purpose. Like Michelle says, what's the purpose? Just because it comes with internet capability, if you never plan to use that ever, then it would be a non-IT good. If you're not sure, then it starts to kind of cross over into that IT good type of a deal. Washer and dryers have the same thing. I go buy a washer and dryer. What do I want it to do? I wash clothes. I'm going to wash and dry clothes. But a lot of them now come with all that internet capability. So you have to look to it. Ask your requester. A lot of washers and dryers come with that. Is there any chance that you're going to be somehow accessing it to start and stop the washer and dryer via the internet? Does it require internet capability when I go to buy it? Then it moves from a non-IT good to an IT good. All right, a digital camera, right? I mean, digital camera, used to be, you bought a camera, it was always a non-IT good. Now we've got all these cameras got a USB, we're going to be uploading it to our computer, which is an IT device, is risk. I'm going to be uploading to the cloud potentially, introduces risk, moves it from non-IT to on IT. All right. So you always want to be thinking, okay, what's the capability? What are the requirements that I have in that SOW? I'll get to your questions on Bluetooth in a second. Now, what about software? Software, IT or non-IT? What do you think? Software, IT, sure. Software is IT. Now, if you buy a good, so in the example, I buy, well, we'll talk about this in a second. The first initial download or acquisition of the software is an IT good. However, if you get updates to it, it might transition to something else, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Okay, so the key will be for the purchasing authority unit when they're doing an audit, they're going to be looking for terms like internet, USB, you know, in the requirements and the statement of work. They'll actually go to the websites and look it up and say, wait a minute, that says has IT capability. Did they know that? Is that something that they're justifying that they're going to make it a non-IT good because they never have the intention of doing that? But you got to look at what's the intent, what's the purpose, what are the functionality, and what will you be using? All right. So that's IT goods. Good job. IT services, remember, if you remember about services, it's about someone doing something, in the case of IT, related to IT, is an IT service. And it comes just like non-IT services, we're talking about someone doing something, either personal services or what we call consulting or products of the mind. When you see the word rental in any case, and remember if it's related to IT, the word rental kind of tells you that you're moving towards service. If you say a word that ends in ing, so classifying or documenting, then you're looking at service as well. So you're looking for the combination, somehow connecting to an internet device or via the internet, Wi-Fi, IT, whether it's a good, tangible, like the software itself, products, you know, like my good. All right. So let's do some examples. Online subscriptions. I'm going to be getting access to a magazine every month. So every month that magazine will be changing. Because I said online, right? IT. Is it a good or a service for that subscription? Right. It's an IT service because it's a month-to-month kind of thing. You're going to be going in and out to get access to that. So it's an IT service. Now, what about continuous updates to software after a warranty? So you buy a good, it comes with the software, so it's an IT good. That software is an IT good. But what about after warranty? And now I need the software updates or I need the hardware updates. What does that then become? Yeah, an IT service. It started as an IT good. It's a tangible. It came with the initial software, and maybe it even came with some software updates for a year. That's a good. After that quote unquote warranty, it then becomes a service. Good. What about subscription services? I'm going to go online like LexisNexis or Thomas Rudin. We use these websites for data analytics and dashboards and those types of things, online portals. What do you think that is? So I'm going online. So it's what? IT. And then it's continuous, right? Things are going to be changing. I'm going in and out. It's a service. Good. All right. What about a training program? So listen to the ing, right? So training is what? A service. And then, but I'm going to be accessing that program via the internet. What is that? right? IT service, right? So I hear the ing in there, ing, service. I'm going to be accessing that via the internet. It is IT. Now, if it's a one-time program, this is where it can get gray. If it's the one time that I download it, it could end up being an IT good, right? I'm just going to download it one time and I'm not going in and out like a subscription type of thing, then that could be a good. All right, so changes after warranty. X-ray machine. What's an X-ray machine? What's an X-ray machine? What do you think? It's a good, right? Now, today it is an IT good because now X-ray machines, they do diagnosis via the internet, they upload to the internet, they kind of combine with computers to do that diagnosis, to do the storage and all that. In the past, an X-ray machine just made X-rays, right? And then the doctor put the little X-ray thing up there on the light and he said, okay, you got a broken leg and we're going to, and that would have been a non-IT good. But now it's all connected to the internet. And remember, once you connect to some kind of internet enabled device or directly to the internet, you've introduced risk. We need to make sure we include the IT general provisions if we're talking about just IT versus the cloud. Then there's some cloud provisions. And the way you know it's cloud is when you go and look at the supplier's websites, right? If it says access via the cloud, that tells you in order to best protect the state, you need to use those cloud general provisions. All right. What about a goat collar that has GPS technology and it comes with 1 year of IT support, right? Software support. So it's a goat collar. It comes with the software and 1 year support. What is that? What do you think? Okay. Yeah, in the first year, it's an IT good, right? I get the goat collar. That's a thing. I get the 1 year of, I get the software that comes a lot with it. That becomes a good if it's the one-time download. And then as Jorge says, then after that 1 year warranty, the continuous hardware maintenance and the software updates then become IT services. All right. Let's see. I think that's it for the examples that I want to talk about. There's some other examples like security cameras, right? It's loading up. I think you get the gist of it. Now, if you need any help classifying purchases, first off, SEM Volume 2, Chapter 10. This is the new SEM Volume 2. If you've downloaded, you want to go look at the new one. You want to contact your PAC or PCO. They can help. It's up to the department to help you with that. PAMS at dgs.ca.gov is then your next step, right? And review your department procurement manual. If you're not familiar with it, go find it because they might have a list of items that have already been pre-approved and classified for you. And look at your department, your desktop mobile computing policy. Because with that, again, your department might already have predefined IT, goods, and services. All right. So what the PAU is going to be looking at is if it feels IT, if it looks IT, if there's requirements for IT, or they go to the website and it feels and looks like IT, they're going to look, what's the justification that you made it a non-IT good? Because everything that we're looking at feels and looks like IT. All right. So basically, when we're talking about IT or not, it's most of it's obvious. A computer is IT, right? I mean, that seems obvious. But it's those gray areas where it becomes more difficult. All right, so I'm really running out of time here. I want to give you some final activities and then we'll real quickly answer some questions. So some good activities that Molinda gave me. Anything you go to buy personally, think of it and go, okay, is this somehow IT where there would be risk? Therefore, I need to attach the IT general provisions or cloud provisions. So constantly be looking for those opportunities. Have some activities with your team. Go look at all the purchases you've made in the last year and see, did you correctly classify? Could that have been incorrectly classified as non-IT versus IT. All right. Yeah, really. So true. Headed to 80% IT procurement with the evolution of society and technology. Oh my gosh, you are so correct there. And the risk there is if you don't include the correct IT general provisions, you're within your purchasing authority, you don't use the correct legal language, then that could end up with being an illegal contract. Molinda, I see you have your hand up, and we'll see if we can cover some of these questions real quickly. Molinda.
Yeah. So, just a couple of things. When it comes to training, training is always a service. It doesn't automatically mean that it turns into an IT service just because you took a training online. So if you clicked on a link and you watched a video for training, that's not an IT service. That's just a service. Now, if you have part of a IT project, you had some training software, some training software developed for your future training purposes, then that is considered an IT service. It was developed for you for an IT project. So when it comes to training, training is always a service, non-IT service. Remember, just because you take it online doesn't make it automatically IT. Also, when it comes to the DMCP, which is the Desktop Mobile Computing Policy, that is specifically for IT goods distinctions, right? So if you have a DMC policy at your agency, it's more often than not, you will not see any IT services on there. That was developed for IT goods deciphering. Now, also, when it comes to the state contracting manual, yes, I know we're referencing a lot of chapters, and navigating the state contracting manual is different now. So this information for classifying will be in State Contracting Manual Volume 2, Chapter 3, Sections 303 and 304. That's where you're going to get your information in regards to classifying. For IT specific, it was Chapter 10. It was sections 1000 and 1700. So I know it's going to take some time for us to get used to those new ways of searching in the state contracting manual. Subscriptions. Subscription services are always considered non-IT services. And also when it comes to subscriptions, the standard industry practice is to pay ahead of time for those subscriptions. So in those cases, that's an exemption to having to pay at the end. You pay in the beginning for your subscriptions. If you are getting if you're logging online to look at the subscription, that's where you're going to have to stop and think, okay, what is this? Is this IT related? Is this IT specific? Is it only one time we're going to log in and download a book? Does that make it IT? Probably not. So that is going to have what I like to call the great debate whenever you have classifying. Always remember, go up the chain of command when you're going through a classification exercise, right? With you, your manager, your branch chief possibly, then your PAC, your purchasing authority contact. If push comes to shove and you cannot resolve because your agency is responsible for classifying before moving on with the purchase, that has to be done first, not after the fact, then you can contact DGS for help in regards to classifying. And that will be the Purchasing Authority Unit, PAU. And their email is PAMS, PAMS, at dgs.ca.gov. It's 2:29. If you have any lingering questions, please feel free to Lori or Rich. Could somebody put this in the chat? CalPCA online at dgs.ca.gov. We will take a look at these questions and we will address them accordingly. Please email your questions to us if you have any in regards to IT. We can put you into the right direction for an answer in regards to resolving any problems that you may have. Our link to CalPCA is just going to YouTube and typing in CalPCA, and it takes you directly to our channel. But someone can put that in the chat. Thank you, Rich. I seen you did that. So it's 2:30. Our session is now over. I appreciate all of your information, but like I said, if you have a lingering question, feel free to highlight, copy, and paste it into an email to us at calpcaonline.dgs. I'm sorry, calpcaonline@dgs.ca.gov. I appreciate you being here, your participation, your attendance, paying attention to what we're saying, listening to my raspy voice because my allergies are so bad. Please join us on the first and third Wednesday of every month. We have a new and invigorating topics every time we're online with you. So once again, thank you very much. Have a great day and goodbye.